Welcome to the Complete Story Series. We take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites for you to understand, and then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Welcome to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, this isn't the Mirage Studios series, but this is in fact the IDW version, which came out recently. This did start in 2011, so long before the current movie, even though you are about to see some similarities. The story begins in the StockGen research facility, and inside of this facility is one important researcher who just started working there recently, April O'Neil. Also inside are 4 young turtles, each of which will be named after Renaissance painters once April gives them those names. Michelangelo, Raphael, Leonardo, and Donatello. There's also a rat named Splinter that was experimented on with drugs that would give him human-like cognition. Months would go by with April taking care of the 5 animals, and the facility would continue its experiments where they were bioengineering meat. Well, what she didn't know is that this facility had a secondary objective, only known by its investors and its top researchers. General Krang donated a top-secret mutagen to this facility to try and turn it into a super soldier serum. But it wasn't as secret as he thought, because on the very same night that April O'Neil came across the research, a group of masked ninjas broke into the facility. As one of them attempted to murder April, the other ninjas put everything from the lab into a bag, because they didn't know what was needed and what wasn't. So while Splinter looked on, they grabbed the vials of mutagen and the turtles, and they placed them all into one bag. He may have just been a rat, but he was a rat with the ability to think like a human, and he runs into the next room to pull the fire alarm. As the alarm sounded, April took this opportunity to fight back and run outside to the arriving police. But as she got to safety, the ninjas grabbed their bag containing the mutagen and the turtles and they fled out the nearby window. But Splinter wasn't about to just let them get away. He leaped out the window and into the fleeing ninja's eyes. Infuriated by this, the ninja dropped the bag and threw Splinter to the street down below. With the bag spilled open, the mutagen spilled all over the place, and Splinter was injured from the fall. So a random cat came over and picked up the turtle known as Raphael and began to carry him away. But Splinter wasn't done protecting the turtles, and he chased the cat down, leaping into its face and biting its eye out of its own head. The cat dropped the turtle and ran off into the night, with the mutagen dripping from its mouth. But before Splinter can find the missing Raphael, he sees the ninjas coming down to get their stolen goods back, so he pushes Leonardo, Donatello, and Michelangelo into the bag, and he begins to drag all 3 of them into the sewers, leaving Raphael to fend for himself. Deep down in the sewers, Splinter and the turtles all mutated into half-human, half-animal hybrids, while up in the streets, all alone. Raphael mutated by himself, alone in a trash pile. And elsewhere, a mangy stray cat mutated into a half-cat, half-human named Old Hobbs. 1 year passes and the 3 turtles are battling it out with Old Hobbs and his gang. You see, over the last year, the turtles and Splinter have been training, while Old Hobbs has been hunting them down. He was hired by the owner of the mutagen to bring in the turtles and Splinter. They have had countless battles, and all have been trying to stop Old Hobbs since the day that they were changed. It's a fight that they always win, and Old Hobbs crawls back to whatever alley he and his gang crawled up from. But the Turtles and Splinter aren't on any mission to stop Hobbs, or on any mission to stop any of the ninjas just yet. Their only mission is to find their missing brother, and every time he thinks of how he lost him that night, tears well up in Splinter's eyes. You see, Raphael was never recovered that night, and has been wandering the streets alone, confused, and lonely for the last year. Splinter is the only one who truly remembers Raphael is even missing, and the rest of the turtles are getting tired of looking for their mysterious 4th brother that they don't even remember. So while the turtles are in their warm lair with their pizza, tea, gadgets, and training, Raphael is wandering the streets just trying to survive and stay hidden. He doesn't know anything about ninjas, and he has no clue about Old Hobbs, and he has no idea who Splinter and the other turtles are. He's just a big green guy wandering the streets who happens to hear some trouble one night. Who knows what made him run into that room to save the young boy that night? Maybe it was a sense of justice. Maybe it was a subconscious fear of what happened to him on the night of the ninja attack. Maybe Raph just doesn't like bullies. Either way, he kicked down the door and he proceeded to go into battle with this man who was beating on his own son. But while his brothers had been training for the last year to fight, Raph only knows the basics of fist fighting and finds himself overwhelmed by this man quickly. That is, until the man tries to drop an elbow onto Raph's back and discovers that there's a rather hard shell there. Raph then declares, "Tag, I'm it," and he begins to beat on the man and then throw him out of his own home. He turns to the young man, expecting the guy to run away from his freakish appearance, but he's shocked when the young man says, "Thanks for the help. I'm Casey Jones." They then fist bump, and Casey tells Raph that it wasn't a big deal. His dad just gets violent when he gets drunk. But he does want to repay him, so he's gonna take him out to get some grub. And they can have a little fun along the way. He then walks into his back room and he returns with a goalie's mask and a baseball bat. The two head out onto the streets and they begin to beat up on muggers and purse snatchers. And Casey explains to Raph that the best feeling is helping others, even if they run away from a guy in a mask and a big green dude. So they make their way to the park, where Casey buys them both the best dogs in the city. And then suddenly they're shoved by two thugs who are outrunning the cops. Casey slaps his mask back on and he says to Raph, "You know what's more fun than hot dogs? Knocking the crud out of two-bit criminals." And the two of them run off into the park to chase those guys down. But as they jump into the park, they aren't confronted by the two thugs. They're confronted by old Hobbs and his entire gang. "Don't tell me you forgot your old friend Hobbs," Hobbs says as Raph begins to remember the rat who saved him and the cat who ran off that night. Hobbs tells the gang no guns, because he wants them to remember this beating, and the battle begins with Casey and Raph versus the entire gang. Eventually, both Raph and Casey are overwhelmed by the sheer numbers, and Hobbs pulls out his own gun, and he places it up against Raph's chin. "You got away before, but it's not gonna happen again." And then suddenly, 3 Chinese stars land in his forearm, and there stands the other 3 turtles, here to save their long-lost brother. They leap in, defeating the entire gang, and just as Hobbs thinks he's lost, he jumps in to fight Raph directly. He has no intentions of losing Raphael again. Raph and Hobbs roll around on the ground, both swinging punches and trying to kill each other. Eventually, Raph gets the upper hand and he begins beating Hobbs to death until Leonardo stops him. He's beaten. Let it go. Raph gets to his feet and he asks, "Who are you guys?" And Donatello tells him, "We're your brothers." All 4 turtles return home and Splinter is overjoyed as he reaches out and he hugs Raph, stating, "At last, our circle is complete and we can truly begin." He then hands each of them a gift for returning Raphael, something to help them stay unique and show off their individual qualities. Their individually colored bandanas. And that is the first story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by IDW. Guys, I really liked this story, and I can't wait to do more of these. So you know what? You don't even have to ask. I'm going to do them, because I really liked it. Now don't forget, we have a Twitter at Comicstorian, a subreddit r/Comicstorian, a gaming channel where we bring you gaming variety videos and complete stories known as Eligible Monster, and we have a list-based channel. Please subscribe to everything, follow us on all that stuff, and go check out our merch store. You guys are great, we love you all, and I will see you next time with the next Comicstorian video.